The coffee in her cup had gone cold, but she kept stirring it like she was afraid to stop moving. That's how I knew it was over, before she even said the words. Her eyes were somewhere behind me, tracing cracks in the cafe's brick wall, pretending not to see the hurt already blooming across my face. "Eli," she said finally, soft but steady, "I think we should break up." I didn't say anything at first. The word break hung in the air like the sound of a window shattering in slow motion. I stared at her lips moving, explaining things I wasn't ready to hear, how she still cared, how she needed space, how we could still be friends. Friends. That word echoed in my skull like a cruel joke. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because if I didn't, I'd cry right there between the coffee cups and the smell of roasted beans. She reached for my hand, and I let her. Her fingers were still warm, still familiar. "I don't want to lose you completely," she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Sure," I said finally. "Friends." The smile she gave me was one of relief, not affection. That was the first cut. The rest came later. Slowly, quietly, almost tenderly. For weeks we played at friendship. We still texted, still shared memes, still knew what the other ate for dinner. But something had shifted beneath the surface. Every conversation felt like standing on cracking ice, pretending it wasn't breaking under our feet. She'd mention new people in her life. Coworkers. Just friends. That phrase again, sharp and hollow. I told myself not to ask questions, not to sound jealous. But I couldn't stop noticing the patterns. Late replies, shorter messages, photos with shadows I didn't recognize. Still I held on. Because letting go of her felt like cutting out my own lungs. Then one night she called. Her voice was shaky. "Can you come over? I just need someone to talk to." My heart jumped, stupidly hopeful. When I got there, she opened the door wearing my old hoodie. The same one she'd taken after our first weekend trip together. Smelled like the past. We sat on her couch, close but not touching. She told me about work stress, about how lonely things felt. I listened, nodded, offered comfort like I used to. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "You always know how to make things feel safe." And in that moment, it almost felt like we hadn't fallen apart. Almost. Then her phone buzzed. She froze. I glanced down before she could stop me. A name flashed on the screen. Liam Redheart. She moved fast. Too fast. Snatching the phone like it was a live grenade. "Who's that?" I asked quietly. She hesitated. "Just a friend." The same phrase again. This time it hit like a slap. I wish I could say I walked out right then, that I had enough self-respect to leave. But I didn't. I stayed. Pretended I believed her. Because part of me needed to. Needed to believe that maybe I still mattered. But the universe has a cruel sense of timing. A week later I got my answer. Not from her, but from an Instagram story I wasn't supposed to see. Tagged photo. Her smiling. His arm around her waist. The caption read, "Finally met someone who makes me feel alive again, Redheart." Alive again. The words tore something open in me. I didn't confront her right away. Instead I played along. Smiled through texts, sent her funny videos. Pretended I didn't already know. I wanted to see how far she'd go with the lie. How deep the betrayal ran. It's strange. The closer you are to someone, the easier it is to tell when they're hiding something. She grew careful with her words. Every sentence trimmed of emotion, every pause rehearsed. She was managing me now the way you manage guilt. Then came her birthday. She invited me, said she wanted her closest friends there. I went. I told myself it was closure. When I arrived, she looked surprised. Maybe she hadn't expected me to come. Maybe she hoped I wouldn't. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. And then I saw him. Liam. The man from the photo. Standing by the window, arm around her waist. She didn't even introduce us. Didn't have to. I could feel the truth radiating off them like heat. Something inside me went very still. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't shout or demand explanations. I just walked up to her, handed her the small box I'd brought, A silver bracelet I'd bought before she ended things. For old times, I said. Her face softened. Eli, you didn't have to. I know, I cut her off. But I wanted to. I turned to Liam, smiled. You're a lucky guy. Then I walked out, leaving her standing there. Confusion painted across her face. Outside, the cold night air hit me like truth. My hands were shaking, but I felt calm. Because I realized something. I didn't need revenge. She'd already destroyed herself. Few days later, she texted me. Can we talk? Please. I ignored it. Then another. Eli, I miss our friendship. That made me laugh. Friendship. The same word that had been her shield, her excuse. Her way of keeping me close enough to feed her guilt but far enough to keep her conscience clean. I finally replied. Friendship doesn't cover what we had, Maya. It doesn't cover lies. It doesn't cover using me as a safety net while you built a new life behind my back. She didn't respond for hours. When she finally did, it was just one line. I didn't mean to hurt you. I stared at the screen until my reflection blurred. Then I typed. You didn't mean to love me either, but you did. And that's what makes this worse. I blocked her after that. Months passed. People told me to move on. I did, eventually, but not in the way they meant. I stopped replaying the memories, stopped asking where I went wrong. I learned that closure doesn't come from them. It comes when you stop needing their explanation to feel whole again. Still, sometimes I catch myself thinking about her. About the way she stirred cold coffee that morning, afraid to stop moving. And I realize, she wasn't the villain I wanted her to be. She was just someone afraid of choosing. And I was the one who finally did.